Welcome to my layout LOSTWITHIEL. The layout is 9 by 5 foot with an 11 foot branch line. The layout is based on LOSTWITHIEL in Cornwall and includes the main station, level crossing and adjacent sidings, as well as the branch line down to Foy and the clay docks at Carn Point. I've also included scaled down versions of the goods shed at LOSTWITHIEL and dairy, as well as a continuous running circuit on the main line with up and down loops for running around trains. This enables me to have several areas for shunting, an end-to-end element for local auto services between LOSTWITHIEL and Foy, and a continuous circuit for running in new locos or just watching trains. Due to lack of space, instead of a large fiddle yard, I have opted for a narrow scenic section, which includes a shallow cutting. This is a really nice area to watch trains and to take photos. The River Foy runs past the station at LOSTWITHIEL and follows the branch line for the entire journey down to Foy, so this had to be a major feature on the layout. The water is made from Woodland Scenic's deep pour resin, which sets rock hard. The surrounding scenery is made from mod rock and polyfiller with Woodland Scenic's various turf blends applied. Although the majority of the layout is complete, I'm still not entirely happy with how the river looks, especially the river banks. There's still quite a bit of work to do in this area. Over the past year during lockdown, I have completed the Foy terminus and Carn Point docks. I'm especially pleased with how this area has turned out. A major feature of the Foy branch is the causeway at Golant. Unfortunately, the only area where I was able to fit in Golant was in front of the windowsill, which somewhat spoils the effect. Nevertheless, I've managed to fit in a small representation of the area. The track is all Pico, code 55, and the ballast is Woodland Scenic's fine grey sprayed with an airbrush. All the locos and rolling stock are Farish, Dapol or Pico. All the locos have been super detailed to some extent, with lamps, lamp irons, crew and real coal. All locos and rolling stock have been weathered to some degree using the airbrush and or powders. All of the Dapol tender locos have been remotored using Tramfambriec motors. This has made a huge improvement to the performance of these locos, which is now smooth and powerful. I'm still trying to work out how to add the Tramfambriec motors to Dapol tank engines. The distinctive platform-mounted signal box at LOSTWITHIEL station has been created using two ratio kits and a scratch-built brick base. Although not perfect, it is a reasonable representation of the real thing. The island platform building is made from a resin casting with a scratch-built canopy and roof. The main station building should be made of wood, but my scratch building is not up to the task of creating such a detailed structure. I've therefore settled on using a ratio stone-built kit. The distinctive palm trees on both platforms really give a Cornish feeling to the layout. They are bought from the model tree shop, as are the rest of the trees on the layout. Thanks to some help from members of the Engage forum, I was recommended the Walther's Cornerstone range of modular buildings. Despite it being foreign, I used their Red Wing milling kit as a base and played about with it until it resembled a British-looking concrete dairy. After adding some P&D Marsh aluminium storage tanks, various bits of pipework, brass railings and a concrete base, the dairy area is now more or less finished. All the semaphore signals are ratio kits with a few parts from MSE, including brass ladders, girder work and signal arms. The branch line through Golant to Foy and the clay docks was completed during 2020 in the lockdown. I'm really pleased with how this has turned out, especially the clay docks. No Cornish layout would be complete without China clay trains, and I was really pleased a few years ago when Graham Farish brought out their China clay wagons. These wagons are much better than the Pico offering which we'd had to make do with previously. Even so, I was still disappointed with the tarpaulin or sheet, which was rather plasticky. I've replaced them all with homemade sheets made from cigarette papers, cut to shape, painted in various tones of dark or light grey, and then weathered with real China clay powder. I wanted some large corrugated buildings for the China clay loading facilities on the docks. For these, I once again turned to the Walther's Cornerstone range and kit-bashed their new River Mining Company kit to simulate the loading facilities. I used old pictures of the real location to try and capture the character of the place. The layout is set in the late 50s, early 60s, and the vast majority of the rolling stock, locos, vehicles and station equipment are from that era. I also rather like the late 80s, early 90s era, so I've got a small amount of stock for more modern running sessions. The shallow cutting is a fairly generic scenic location, with more modern trains looking at home here as well as steam era trains. The layout is now complete, but not quite finished. There is still quite a bit of work I need to do on the river, which I'm still not quite happy with. I also need to finish off the signalling, include point rodding and some more trees.